The big hall was filled with strange sounds. Clicks and buzzes came from creatures that looked nothing like humans. Some had many arms, others floated in the air like clouds. Jake Harrison stood in the middle of it all, feeling very small. He wore his best uniform, the dark blue with gold stripes that showed he was a commander in Earth Space Force. Next to him stood Amy Rodriguez, a young woman with short black hair who carried a computer tablet. She looked nervous but tried to hide it. The hall itself was amazing. The walls were made of crystal that glowed with soft light. The ceiling was so high that Jake could barely see it. Around the room, different alien creatures sat on platforms that floated in the air. Some platforms were big enough for creatures with many legs. Others were small for beings made of light. Jake had traveled for 3 months to get here. His ship, the Pioneer, was parked far above this planet. It was the first human ship to make such a long trip through space. The crew back on the ship was probably watching through cameras waiting to see what happened. The alien at the front of the room was the biggest Jake had ever seen. It had long arms like an octopus and eyes that seemed older than Earth itself. This was Zorath, the leader of the Galactic Council. Behind him hung a flag with symbols from 47 different worlds. A tall, bug-like creature started making clicking sounds. The computer in Jake's ear changed the clicks into words he could understand. "Look what crawled out of the mud," the bug said. The little humans finally learned to fly between the stars. More laughter filled the room. It came in different forms. Some aliens made musical sounds, others changed colors, and a few just shook like they were having fun. None of it sounded friendly. Amy stepped closer to Jake and whispered, "Sir, maybe we should have expected this." Jake nodded but kept his face calm. He had known this might happen. Earth's scientists had warned him that human technology was very basic compared to what these aliens had. While humans were still using rockets that burned fuel, these creatures had been flying between stars for thousands of years. A creature that looked like it was made of metal and light spoke next. Its voice sounded like a robot. "What could babies like you possibly offer to us? We have been exploring space since before your world had cities." The laughter got louder. Jake could see that some aliens were not even paying attention anymore. They were talking to each other like he was not worth their time. Dr. Paul Stevens sat in a special area for visitors. He was Earth's smartest scientist and had helped design the Pioneer. Even he looked worried as he watched the aliens mock the human delegation. A creature with 6 arms and blue skin leaned forward on her floating platform. She wore what looked like a military uniform covered in medals. "Council members," she said, in a voice full of pride. "Surely we are not serious about letting these primitives join us. They still use chemical rockets to leave their own planet." The room erupted with more laughter. Jake felt his face get hot, but he forced himself to stay calm. Getting angry would only make things worse. The octopus-like leader raised one of his long arms. The room became quiet. "Human delegation," Zorath said in a voice that echoed through the crystal hall. "You may speak." Jake stepped forward. His boots made small sounds on the smooth floor. Every eye, sensor, and light in the room focused on him. He felt like a mouse surrounded by cats, but he kept his voice steady. "Honored Council," Jake began. "Earth asks to join the Galactic Federation. We know we are new to space travel, but we want to learn. We want to help make the galaxy better for everyone." The bug creature clicked its mandibles again. "Help? What help could you possibly give us? You barely know how to leave your own solar system." Jake looked around the room. Some aliens were still laughing. Others looked bored. A few seemed curious about what he would say next. "We may be young," Jake continued, "but humans have always been good at solving problems. We learn fast and we do not give up easily. Maybe our different way of thinking could be useful." A creature made of glowing gas changed from blue to red, which Jake's briefing had said meant it was amused. "Different thinking? You mean primitive thinking?" More laughter echoed through the hall. Jake felt Amy tense beside him, but he had expected this reaction. Earth's leaders had prepared him for exactly this kind of welcome. "We ask for a chance to prove ourselves," Jake said louder. The Federation Charter says any species can request the trial of worthiness. We formally request this trial." The laughter stopped. The room became so quiet that Jake could hear his own heartbeat. Even the crystal walls seemed to stop humming. Zorath's ancient eyes fixed on Jake with new interest. The octopus leader leaned forward on his platform. "You invoke the trial of worthiness? No species has requested such a challenge in over 500 years. Jake nodded. "We do." The six-armed military creature burst into harsh laughter. "Let them try," she said with a cruel smile. "It will be fun to watch them die trying." Other aliens began talking excitedly among themselves. The trial was legendary. Only a few species in galactic history had ever attempted it, and most had failed. Those who tried and failed were usually destroyed in the process. Amy grabbed Jake's arm. "Sir, are you sure about this?" Jake looked at her and smiled slightly. "Trust me, Amy. We have something they do not expect." The council took a vote. Every alien in the room voted yes. They all wanted to see the humans try and fail. As the vote was announced, the laughter began again. Jake and Amy walked toward the exit, while aliens continued to mock them. Jake could hear comments about how foolish humans were and how quickly they would be destroyed. But Jake was not worried. He had a secret that none of these advanced aliens knew about. Humans had something that no computer or advanced technology could replace. They had the ability to think in ways that others could not predict. As they left the crystal hall, Jake heard one alien say to another, "How long do you think they will last? I give them 10 minutes before they are space dust." The other alien replied, "10 minutes? You are too generous. I say 5. Their laughter followed Jake and Amy all the way to the door. But Jake was smiling now. Soon these aliens would learn that underestimating humans was a big mistake. The trial would begin in 3 days. Jake could hardly wait to show them what humans could really do. 3 days later, space around the Nexus system was filled with alien ships. They had come to watch the humans fail. The ships were huge and beautiful, with technology that Earth could only dream about. Some were made of crystal, others of metal that seemed to flow like water. A few looked like they were made of pure light. All of these ships kept a safe distance from the center of the system. There, a terrible thing waited in space. It was called the Maelstrom, and it was the most dangerous place in the galaxy. Black holes spun around each other, creating waves of gravity that could crush any ship. Neutron stars shot out beams of radiation that could kill everything for light years around. Strange energy fields twisted space itself into impossible shapes. The human ship Endeavour looked tiny compared to the alien vessels watching it. Captain E. Lisa Carter sat in the pilot's seat, her hands steady on the controls. She had volunteered for this mission, knowing she might not come back alive. The ship had been changed by Earth's best engineers, but it still looked simple compared to the alien technology surrounding them. On the bridge with Lisa were 4 other humans. Tony Martinez was the engineer who had helped design the ship's new parts. Helen Brooks was the navigator who would guide them through the death trap ahead. Dr. Alan Cooper was the scientist who studied the strange energy readings. Communications. Officer Pete Walsh kept them connected to Earth and the watching alien fleets. The 6-armed alien admiral watched from her giant warship. She turned to her assistant, a younger alien with the same blue skin. "How long do we give them before they are torn apart?" she asked. The younger alien checked his computer. "The betting pools say 17 minutes, Admiral. Some optimists think they might last 31 minutes. On a crystal ship that looked like a floating diamond, an alien made of living light pulsed with different colors. Their ship design is very basic," she said to her crew. "But they have made some strange changes to it." The alien scientists were puzzled by the human modifications. Instead of the usual force fields and computer systems, the humans had added layers of simple armor and backup systems. Their computer was not very advanced, but it seemed designed to learn and adapt quickly. Another alien ship, this one made of metal and energy, buzzed with electronic voices. The chief researcher processed data about human abilities. "Their mathematics are simple, their physics barely adequate," he announced. "This should be over very quickly. Inside the Endeavour, Captain Carter ran through her final checks. Every system was working perfectly. The modifications that Tony had made were untested, but they were based on human thinking rather than alien logic. "All stations ready, Captain," announced Helen from her navigation station. Unlike the aliens who used supercomputers to plot their courses, she relied on her ability to see patterns and make quick decisions. Dr. Cooper studied the readings from the edge of the maelstrom. "Energy levels are within what we expected," he reported. "The adaptive systems are starting to learn the patterns." The maelstrom stretched out in front of them like a three-dimensional maze made of death. Gravity waves that could flatten their ship, radiation that could cook them instantly, and time distortions that could trap them forever. 17 species in galactic history had tried to fly through it. Only 4 had succeeded. The goal was simple, but almost impossible. In the center of the maelstrom was an ancient artifact left by a civilization that had died out millions of years ago. Any species that could retrieve it and return alive would prove their worthiness to join the galactic community. As the Endeavour crossed into the maelstrom, several alien ships registered surprise on their sensors. Instead of the panicked, desperate flight they expected, the human ship moved with clear purpose through the outer layers of destruction. "Impossible," breathed the bug-like alien from his observation ship. "They are not just surviving the first gravity waves, they are using them." The human ship rode the waves of twisted gravity like an old sailing ship catching the wind. Where other species had fought against the maelstrom's fury, humanity was learning to dance with it. 3 hours into the trial, the alien observers realized they had made a terrible mistake. The betting pools had been completely wrong. The humans were not just surviving, they were thriving in conditions that would have destroyed most ships in the first few minutes. "How are they navigating without probability computers?" demanded the electronic alien, his voice crackling with confusion. The answer came from Dr. Stevens back on Earth. He had been monitoring the mission and transmitted to the alien fleets. "Because we do not rely only on technology. Our people are adapting in real time, using pattern recognition and intuitive thinking that your computers cannot copy." The laughter had stopped. In its place grew something the galactic community had not felt in centuries: uncertainty. "Captain," Carter's voice came over the communication system as she spoke to her crew. "Tony, move power from the backup shields to the navigation deflectors. Helen, I need you to calculate a curved path using the neutron star's magnetic field." What amazed the watching aliens was not just the technical skill, though it was impressive for such a young species. It was the smooth communication and instant adaptation. Where other species relied on rigid rules and computer help, the humans worked together like a single organism solving problems. "They are not following any known navigation patterns," observed the crystal alien, her body pulsing with confused light. "They are improvising through impossible conditions." The six-armed admiral found her confidence shaken as she watched the human ship perform maneuvers that broke every rule of safe space travel. "How are they surviving?" she asked her assistant. The young alien's response carried a new tone of respect. "Admiral, they are not fighting the chaos. They are becoming part of it. Their responses are organic, natural." 6 hours into the trial, the Endeavour reached the center of the maelstrom. The ancient artifact waited in a small pocket of calm space between 3 black holes. But as Captain Carter's team began their approach, the cosmic dance shifted. The balance of gravity changed, creating a death trap that had killed the last 3 species to attempt the trial. "This is it," announced Dr. Cooper, his voice tight with concentration. "The window is only open for about 47 minutes before the gravity collapse becomes unsurvivable." But the humans had prepared for this moment. As the alien observers watched in growing amazement, the Endeavour did not run from the collapsing space. Instead, it used the chaos as a slingshot, diving through impossible paths to reach the artifact. "By the ancient stars," whispered the octopus leader from his observation platform. "They are not just completing the trial, they are redefining it." The Endeavour moved through the heart of the maelstrom like it belonged there. Captain Carter gripped her controls as the ship danced between gravity waves that could tear apart planets. Around her, the crew worked with a speed and coordination. that left the watching aliens speechless. "Tony, I need more power to the front shields," Carter called out. "Helen, plot us a course around that neutron star using its magnetic field as a guide." Engineer Martinez's fingers flew over his controls. "Power redirected, Captain. The adaptive systems are learning faster than we hoped." Navigator Brooks closed her eyes for a moment, feeling the pull of gravity and the flow of energy around them. "Course plotted, Captain. It's going to be a wild ride." The alien observers could not believe what they were seeing. The human ship was not just surviving the most dangerous place in the galaxy, it was thriving in it. On the crystal ship, the light being Lumia pulsed with confused colors. "They are not following any known physics," she said to her crew. "They are creating new solutions as they go." The six-armed Admiral Vexona watched her tactical displays with growing shock. "My computers say what they are doing is impossible," she told her assistant, "but they are doing it anyway." The electronic alien Nexum processed thousands of calculations per second trying to understand human methods. "Their approach makes no logical sense," he announced. "They should have been destroyed hours ago." But the humans were far from destroyed. As they pushed deeper into the maelstrom, they encountered challenges that had stopped other species cold. A field of twisted space-time that made navigation computers useless. Radiation storms that could fry any electronic system. Gravity wells that pulled in opposite directions at the same time. Each time the human crew found a way through, not by overpowering the obstacles but by working with them. When their navigation computer failed, Helen used her intuition and quick thinking. When the radiation threatened to cook them, Tony rerouted power in ways that no alien engineer had ever considered. "They are not fighting the maelstrom," observed the bug-like alien Keltar. "They are becoming part of it." Dr. Cooper monitored the ancient artifact as they approached. "Energy readings are off the charts," he reported. "Whatever civilization built this thing, they were incredibly advanced." The artifact hung in space like a crystal star, glowing with power that had lasted for millions of years. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. 3 black holes spun around it in a delicate dance, their gravity creating the only stable pocket in the entire maelstrom. But as the Endeavor drew closer, that stability began to collapse. The cosmic forces that had kept the artifact safe for eons were shifting. The humans had arrived just as the protective bubble was about to burst. "Warning," announced the ship's computer. "Gravitational instability detected. Collapse in 47 minutes." Captain Carter felt her heart race, but her voice stayed calm. "Tony, prepare the collection systems. Helen, calculate an escape route. Everyone else, hold on tight." The alien observers watched in fascination as the human ship dove toward the artifact. Any sane species would have fled when the gravity started to collapse, but the humans used the chaos to their advantage, riding the gravitational waves like surfers on a cosmic ocean. "Impossible," breathed Zorhath, the ancient council leader. "They are not just retrieving the artifact. They are using the collapse to help them." The Endeavor's collection beam locked onto the crystal artifact. For a moment, the ancient device resisted, as if testing the worthiness of those who sought to claim it. Then it allowed itself to be drawn into the human ship's cargo bay. "Artifact secured," reported Dr. Cooper. "But we have a problem. The gravitational collapse is accelerating." Around them, space itself was falling apart. The 3 black holes were no longer in balance. Their pull was growing stronger, creating a whirlpool of destruction that would soon consume everything in the area. Most species would have panicked. The alien observers expected to see the human ship torn apart as it tried to escape. Instead, they witnessed something that would be talked about for generations. The Endeavor did not try to escape the way it had come. Instead, Captain Carter ordered her ship deeper into the chaos. The humans used the collapsing gravity to accelerate their ship to impossible speeds, then rode the explosion of energy outward like a rocket. "They are using the collapse as propulsion," gasped Lumia. "How did they even think of that?" The answer came from Dr. Stevens back on Earth. "Because humans do not think in straight lines," he transmitted to the alien fleets. "We see opportunities where others see only obstacles." As the Endeavor burst out of the maelstrom's core, The space behind them exploded in a display of light and energy that could be seen from star systems away. The humans had not only survived the trial, they had escaped through what should have been certain death. But the real shock was still to come. As the ship cleared the outer edge of the maelstrom, Captain Carter transmitted a message that would change galactic history. "Trial completed," she announced. "Artifact secured, but we have also mapped 17 new stable corridors through the maelstrom. This death zone could become a major trade route." The silence that followed was not mockery or disbelief. It was pure amazement. In completing their trial, humanity had done something no other species had even attempted. They had tamed the untamable. The alien observers began to realize what this meant. The maelstrom had always been a barrier, cutting off entire sectors of the galaxy from each other. Trade. Routes had to go around it, adding months to journey times. But if the humans were right, if there were actually safe paths through the chaos, it would revolutionize galactic commerce. 17 corridors, whispered Admiral Vexona. If even half of them are stable, it will change everything. The betting. Pools that had given humans minutes to live were forgotten. The alien delegates who had laughed at human primitiveness were now frantically sending messages to their home worlds about the implications of human success. On his observation platform, Zorath felt something he had not experienced in thousands of years. Surprise. These young humans had not just passed an ancient test, they had turned it into an opportunity that could benefit the entire galaxy. As the Endeavor began its journey back to the council chambers, the conversations among the alien fleets had completely changed. Where once they had discussed humans, as amusing primitives, they now debated human techniques and philosophy, with genuine respect and growing fear. The species that had been laughed at for their simple technology had just opened possibilities that could reshape galactic civilization. The galaxy would never be the same. 3 weeks later, the same crystal hall that had echoed with alien laughter was now filled with respectful silence. Commander Jake Harrison stood once again in the center of the room, but everything had changed. The alien delegates no longer lounged carelessly on their floating platforms. Instead, they sat forward, listening carefully to every word he spoke. Jake wore the same uniform, but now it seemed to command respect rather than mockery. Beside him, Amy Rodriguez held a different tablet this time. Instead of Earth's simple membership application, it contained detailed plans that could transform the entire galaxy. "Honored Council," Jake began, his voice carrying an authority that had not been there before. "Humanity accepts full membership in the Galactic Federation. We also propose the immediate start of Project Pathway, which will establish safe trade routes through the mapped corridors of the Maelstrom." The economic implications sent waves of excitement through the assembled delegates. Travel times between distant worlds could be cut by months. Trade routes that had been too dangerous to use were now potentially profitable. Entire sectors of the galaxy that had been isolated could be connected to the main trade networks. Admiral Vexona, the six-armed military leader who had once mocked human primitiveness, leaned forward with obvious interest. Her attitude had completely changed since watching the humans succeed where her own species would have failed. "Commander Harrison," she said respectfully, "the hegemony would like to discuss joint ventures for route security. Your species has demonstrated unexpected capabilities that we would be honored to work with." The word unexpected had become the polite way for aliens to say that humans were far more capable than anyone had imagined. Behind the diplomatic language, Jake could sense the fundamental shift in how humanity was now viewed. The bug-like alien, Keltar, who had been the first to laugh at humanity's arrival, clicked his mandibles in what Jake now recognized as a gesture of respect. "The Zephyrian Trade Consortium wishes to negotiate exclusive shipping contracts through the human-discovered corridors," he announced. Other aliens began speaking up, each offering deals that would have been unthinkable just weeks before. The species that had been dismissed as primitive newcomers were now the most sought-after partners in the galaxy. Dr. Stevens, now carrying the title of Chief Science Advisor to the Federation, presented data that had revolutionized galactic thinking. The adaptive navigation techniques demonstrated during the trial have applications far beyond the maelstrom, he explained. We are prepared to share this technology in exchange for Federation research partnerships. The offer sent urgent communications, racing through various species' diplomatic channels. Technologies that had seemed crude weeks earlier were now recognized as revolutionary approaches to problems that had puzzled galactic civilization for thousands of years. The ancient leader, Zorath, raised one of his tentacles for attention. His voice, which had once held subtle condescension, now carried genuine respect. In 5,000 years of Federation history, no species has transformed their trial into an opportunity that benefits the entire galaxy. Humanity has not only earned membership, they have earned leadership positions within our most important committees. The chamber erupted in approving sounds from 47 different species. The clicks, chimes, electronic tones, and color changes that had once mocked humanity now celebrated their inclusion as equals. Captain Carter, recently promoted to admiral and appointed head of the Federation's new navigation corps, stood beside Jake. Her success in the maelstrom had made her one of the most respected figures in galactic exploration. Military officers from species across the galaxy wanted to study under her command. The Navigation Corps will begin training programs next month, she announced. We are looking for volunteers from all species who want to learn adaptive navigation techniques. The response was overwhelming. Species that had relied on rigid computer systems for centuries were eager to learn humanity's intuitive approaches to spaceflight. Sign-up requests flooded in from every corner of the galaxy. Amy Rodriguez, now bearing the title of Federation Cultural Exchange Coordinator, outlined humanity's proposals for integrated colonies and research stations. The galaxy that had once seemed closed to human expansion was now actively competing for human partnership. We propose joint research facilities where human and alien scientists can work together, Amy explained. Our different approaches to problem solving could lead to breakthroughs that neither of us could achieve alone. As the formal session concluded, Jake found himself surrounded by alien dignitaries who had completely ignored him during his first visit. Trade offers, research partnerships, military alliances, and cultural exchanges were proposed one after another. Everyone wanted to be humanity's friend. But the real transformation was evident in the casual conversations during breaks. Where aliens had once discussed humans as amusing primitives, they now debated human techniques and philosophy with genuine fascination. Your species puzzles us in the best possible way, the crystal alien Lumia confided to Dr. Cooper. We have studied your approach to impossible problems, and it challenges everything we thought we knew about logic and reasoning. The electronic alien Nexum, who had originally dismissed human mathematics as barely adequate, was now requesting detailed exchanges with Earth's universities. Your non-linear thinking patterns could revolutionize our research methods, he admitted. We have much to learn from you. The military applications were equally impressive. Human-trained pilots were being recruited by fleets across the galaxy. The intuitive flying style that had carried the Endeavor through the maelstrom was perfect for combat situations, where split-second decisions could mean victory or defeat. As the delegation prepared to return to Earth, Jake reflected on the incredible journey from mockery to leadership. Humanity had proven that advanced technology was not the only path to galactic significance. Sometimes the ability to think differently was more valuable than the most sophisticated computer systems. The final ceremony showed Commander Harrison signing humanity's membership charter as an equal partner in galactic civilization. But more importantly, it showed him doing so surrounded by alien allies who had learned to respect human ingenuity and creativity. 6 months later, the maelstrom trade routes were generating prosperity throughout the galaxy. Human-trained navigators were in demand everywhere, and Earth had become a center of innovation and cultural exchange. The human embassy on the Council world was one of the busiest buildings in the sector. The story of humanity's rise from laughingstock to galactic leaders became required study in Federation schools. It taught all species that true strength came not from superior technology, but from the courage to attempt the impossible and the wisdom to find new solutions to ancient problems. Jake Harrison, now Ambassador Harrison, often smiled when he remembered that first day in the council chambers. The aliens had laughed at humanity's arrival, dismissing them as primitive newcomers who had no business among the stars. Nobody was laughing anymore. Instead, they were learning.